What's up guys, Sean here, and today this Hinderer Eclipse is getting a titanium scale. Today I'm carrying the Demco AD20, and this in fact is a custom from Blade Show 2021. And if you take a look right here, this is in Magna Cut. So there are only a few of these in existence. From my knowledge, there is 12 or less, so this is an extremely rare and very valuable knife right here. But we're not here to talk about this one today. We are here to give this beautiful knife a facelift. And if you see that edge glistening, that is a nice mirror polished edge I put on here. And what I used to get this very reflective beautiful mirror is Gunny juice. This is polycrystalline diamond emulsions, and what I like to do is I just spread it around on some basswood and use it the same way you would use a leather strap. This stuff works miracles. I went down to 1 micron, so that was my final grit rating, and this just looks amazing. So this is a 3.5 inch spear point, swedged spear point in M390. We have a stonewashed DLC coated frame lock side, and we have a battle bronze, I believe. Let me check here. Yes, this is the battle bronze titanium warthog scale. So it's not an exact match to the stonewashed DLC, but it's pretty damn close, and I think it is going to look really good. So without any further ado, let's get started. The tools I'm going to be using are a 2mm hex driver, and for the pivot screw I came up with something new. Typically I've been using pennies, which work just fine, but I actually found something better, and it's going to sound weird and funny, but it works really good, and it is a toenail clipper. I'm not sure where they're from, but it says body prescriptions on them, and it has a rubberized coating over the actual, I guess, like shank of it itself. So that is going to prevent any type of scratches or deformation to the screw, and it is a perfectly snug and tight fit. Like snug. It's not going anywhere, and there's no chance of it scratching anything up because it is rubberized. So don't ask me how I figured this out, but this works really good. So as you can see here, my toenail clipper screwdriver here works like a champ. And because of the snug fit and rubberized coating, it kind of likes to stay inside the slot for the most part. So that's going to allow you to do this a lot easier when you're repositioning your hand. Then once I get to about this level, I go to see if I can start getting it by hand. Alright, so now that we have the pivot screw out, we're going to go to the scale screws, and these are going to be 2mm hex. I believe, maybe not. Okay, so that is not a 2mm hex. I think that might be a TORX. Let's see. Yep, looks like T6 is going to be the way we go. And I'm just going to proceed with caution. You want to use very, very little pressure. Alright, that one's not coming free easily, so move on. Okay, this next one just came out very easily, so that's good. Moving on to the last one. Alright, that one came very easy. Another thing that will help you avoid stripping out any screws is to make sure you are flat down into the screw. If you have your bit or your driver at an angle, you're going to increase the chances of stripping something out. And also make sure you're pressing down into the screw head firmly. There we go. Okay, so now that we have all the screws out, the scale should just lift right up. And yes, it did. Very easy. Alright, set that scale over here. And before we put this back together, we're going to clean it up real quick. Alright guys, so this liner should just pry right up. Let me see. Sometimes it's easier if you disengage the lock, because that is going to take some of the tension off, and just like that, it popped right off. Alright, so it's pretty clean in here, but I'm going to go ahead and wipe it down anyway and re-oil it. So first, I'm going to hit it with some alcohol. Then I'm going to wipe it down with this microfiber. Alright guys, so everything is cleaned up. I'm now going to add some Gunny glide to the bearings and pivot. You only need a very small amount, little bit on the detent ball. Come over to this side. Couple drops will do just fine. All right, let's get this thing back together. Now that we have everything cleaned and oiled up, the scale should go on nice and easy. Gonna get it lined up. So while maintaining pressure downward on the new scale, I'm gonna press down the frame lock. And just like that, everything, oh, almost. There we go. Just like that, everything is now popped into place and seated. Our blade stop is seated and our standoffs are seated. So while keeping pressure on it, I'm gonna release it one more time. Okay, so we know we're all the way seated. You can double check it visually. Then we're gonna start putting our screws in. I'm going to start at the back here and work my way up, and so we don't scratch this new scale, I'm going to put the screws on the driver first and then into the hole, because if you set the screws in first and then try to get the driver in the hole, you can easily slip off and go to the side and end up scratching your new scale. So we definitely don't want to do that, especially not with somebody else's knife. Now we're tightening these down snug, but we're not cranking them down. We don't need to, you don't need to put all your muscle into it yet. Or I should say, you don't need to put all your muscle into screws like this really ever, because that is another way these screws can get stripped out. So all things you want to keep in mind. Now this pivot screw should go in just fine. Yep. I'm going to tighten it down by hand as far as I can get it. And take my thumbnail, get it this last little bit before I need to snug it down with my flat head, which in this case is these toenail clippers. Alright, let's see. Oh, tiny bit of blade play. Need to go just a little bit more. Check it again. Oh yeah, that's rock solid. Check our centering. Little bit off center. So what I'm gonna do is, there we go, loosen that just a hair. And we are going to back these screws out just a hair, like a quarter turn. And that's another reason I said you don't want to crank these down all the way tight just yet. Alright, so now we are just double checking and making sure everything is still completely seated. Alright, that all looks good. So this time, instead of starting from the bottom, I'm going to try starting at the pivot. Alright, so that is where I wanted this screw. There we go. And yeah, that looks really good. No blade play. Check for centering again. We're pretty damn close. I'd say just about dead center. So now let's snug up the rest of the screws and see how we look. Like I said, this time we are going to go from the pivot down. Oh yeah. Looks like we are dead center now. Yep. Alright, cool. Let's see how this baby flips. Oh yeah. Nice. I can tell right off the bat there is a pretty big improvement to the action of this. Even though it was really good before, I can honestly say it feels a good bit more smooth, and it definitely feels a lot better in hand. This feels really good. Interestingly, it did not really change the sound of this knife, but that's alright, because this knife does not sound bad. Let's try thumb flick. Nice. Little finger flick. Nice. Alright guys, overall I would say this went pretty smooth, and this scale looks amazing, and it also feels really good in hand. Now these are very pricey. They range from anywhere from $200 to $250 retail, which is pretty insane for one scale, but these are like a work of art in my eyes. They are truly amazing. So if you're somebody that has the disposable income and can afford something like this, I would definitely recommend it. I've never been disappointed with a Hinderer knife yet, and yeah, great stuff. Wow, this just made me like this knife a whole lot more. That is really, really good. Alright guys, so that is how you switch the scale on a Hinderer Eklipse 3.5 inch. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys in the next one.